There's a lot of dreams and visions that people get and they share them on the internet. So I might even call this one Dreams and Visions of Fasting. Because what it is there's a early church father and he had some visions that he said came from God. And I just want to share one of his visions because I believe it was quite good. It was regarding fasting, and he said this of fasting. He said, "This fasting," he continued, "is very good, provided the commandments of the Lord are observed. Thus then, when you observe fasting, which you intend to keep, first of all be on your guard against every evil word, every evil desire, and purify your heart from the vanities of this world. If you guard against these things, your fasting will be perfect. And you'll do as follows." So this is the interesting bit. "Having fulfilled what is written, in the day on which you fast, you take nothing but bread and water, and having reckoned up the price of the dishes of that day which you intend to have eaten, you will give to a widow, orphan, or some other person in want, and thus you will exhibit humility of mind, so that he who has received benefit from your humility may fill his own soul and pray for you to the Lord. If you observe fasting that I commanded you, your sacrifice will be acceptable to God, and your fasting will be written down, and the service thus performed is noble and sacred, acceptable to the Lord. These things, therefore, shall you observe with your children and all your house, and in observing them you will be blessed. And as many as hear these words and observe them shall be blessed, and whatever they ask of the Lord they shall receive." So this was an interesting little vision that he had about fasting, that I've always believed that fasting, when we fast, we should give that money which we save to the poor. Now that's something that he received in his vision. He said that God said that as we fast, we should save that money up and give it to the poor. Even in the fasting, he said we don't have to go without food totally, as long as we're giving that money away to the poor and having an attitude of holiness and cleanliness before the Lord. So I think it's interesting that if you go to the book of Isaiah, I'm going to go now to the book of Isaiah, that he says the same thing. He says, "Is this the fast that I've chosen, a day for a man to afflict his soul?" So saying it's not a day for a man to afflict his soul. Fasting isn't to afflict your soul. Is it to bow down his head like a burr bush and spread out sackcloth and ashes? So he says it's not about spreading out sackcloth and ashes. Would you call this fast an acceptable day of the Lord? He's saying that, well, does the Lord really think that's an acceptable day? He goes, "Is this not what the fast that I've chosen, to loose the bonds of wickedness, to undo the heavy burdens, to let the oppressed go free and break every yoke?" Now this is again the same thing. "Is it not to share your bread with the hungry, and that you bring to your house the poor who are cast out? When you see the naked, that you cover him, and you hide not yourself from your own flesh? Then your light shall break forth like the morning, your healing shall be spring forth speedily, and your righteousness shall go before you, and the glory of the Lord will be your rear guard." Now, I'm sure we're all in this consumer world buying things and buying more things than we need. And this is really a wake-up call to say, well, hey, it said down here that when you fast and you give the money to the poor, that you're to involve your children and your family and those with you, and that God will bless you. That, it's about teaching the next generation that they should be generous and be generous to the poor. I'm thinking coming up to my birthday that I want to set that aside as a fast day and say, well, okay, on my birthday, we're going to have bread and water like this guy said, and we're going to set aside that money that I'd normally have for my cake and for my present and give it to the needy, give it to the poor, so that they can have something to eat and have some blessing out of that. So let's just, and at the same time, probably show my kids some videos of people that are hungry. I mean, they watch YouTube and it's full of junk about, spending all the money, buying all the Robux and buying all the fancy cars and all this sort of stuff that goes on YouTube. It's giving them a bad mindset. To share with your children what it is to truly fast before God. It's not to starve yourself. It is to feed the hungry, to help those that are in need, and to bless them so that their prayers go up to God. And not just so that their prayers go up to God and you're blessed. That's not what I mean. But that's what this guy said. He said they will pray also for you because of the blessing that you've given to them. So let's just consider that. I'd ask you, make it a regular practice. If you go to the takeaway shop every Saturday or Sunday, whatever it is, to buy some food for your kids and for yourself, say, well, okay, kids, today I'm going to fast. I'm not going to have that. I'm going to set aside that money to the poor. Teach them regularly to give to the poor. Take some fast days out of your week. Take some fast days out of your month, and just see how you go.